When one utilizes the power of the psychedelics, one must come with an attitude of esteem, an honorable place. You must be willing to approach with humility and boldness. You must be prepared to reach an upper echelon of the spiritual realm. Rhetorical Sake, episode 14, keeping it real on psychedelics. Get with it, get lost, homie. I really have no idea why everybody in the world wants to mow their lawn right now when I'm trying to do a podcast, but it is what it is, so I'm gonna roll with it. Ooh, this mug of coffee, my Laird Hamilton superfood mug, it's got me nervous. It's hotter than the coffee inside. I don't wanna sip this and burn my tongue. But I'm grateful I even have coffee and a little turmeric to throw in that beezy. Yeah, speaking of Burning Man is in full swing right now out there, I think Reno, Nevada, where it's like a red flag warning for fire. So y'all be safe. It's already hot enough where I am, but I didn't really have any intention of going to Burning Man this year. I don't think I'm there spiritually. I could do it financially, but I also am trying to be very responsible. However, I think being well balanced and investing in experiences is absolutely vital upon coming into adulthood and establishing autonomy. Because then you get to know tribes that like the music you like, and maybe things like that, or I don't know. You just end up relating to people. So, mad shout out to my homies out there in Reno, Nevada, burning the man. So pagan. I like it. I like that. I remember when I was in Israel, they took us to this archaeological dig site, and they brought us there because it was historically known for Jesus doing something, but it was a pagan temple. Like, it had all these inlets of shrines of these pagan gods, but they were like, yeah, this is where Jesus gave Peter the keys to the church or something. And Peter had a problem with swearing as well. Anybody that has an issue with my filthy mouth out there, and Jesus gave him the keys to the church. So go figure. Look at what God can do. Look at what Jesus did. So yeah, I wouldn't cower away from something like Burning Man because it seems pagan. Like, I can't tell my mama I'm going to Burning Man though, because if I try to explain what that is, oh hell no. That old devil worshiping bullshit. No son of mine. The devil is a lie. But I think, my conception of the God I follow doesn't have an inferiority complex. That's a human construct. And if I give that to my God, then I'm anthropomorphizing. I'm going to learn this word one way or another. But basically giving a deity or even an animal, that's usually how you anthropomorph. I'll get it one day. giving them human characteristics and feeling inferior and insecure. I know the story's written like God is this tyrannical being in the sky, but at the same time, I think considering the times and the rough translation, and you got to make a story interesting. I mean, it's getting passed down verbally for thousands of years. And that's the beautiful thing about podcasting. This is human nature. I truly believe that storytelling is a vital, integral part of the human anatomy, spiritually, physically, and mentally. So today I hope to shed some light on some mental health issues and opinions about treatment, especially to the likes of psychedelics like MDMA, ecstasy. What's that other one? There's shrooms, mushrooms. So this is a Keeping It Real episode. You're going to hear from my good friend, Ali, and his experience with tripping and some things that he witnessed and experienced. I think it's pretty cool. He's a lot more advantageous than me, and we couldn't really pin down if we had ever tripped together on anything. I think not simultaneously, but we had definitely like spent time together where one of us was either, tripping on acid or shrooms or the likes of, college was fun. So in any case, yeah, he's got some really cool stories, and I'll, relate as well because I have some stories per this podcast. So there you go. I'm just stoked because I think this show is developing into what someone inspired me to do a couple of years ago, and they had been becoming a bit of a mentor to me and just kind of taking me under their wing and just letting me know what's up. Like, if you ain't got a person like that at your job or in your career that you actually respect and can look up to, find one, because that, I think, is invaluable. Having a mentor, someone that is 2 steps, 2 levels ahead of me, that's willing to even take a minute or 2 out their day just for me and spit back some knowledge and wisdom, it's vital. It's been vital every step of the way to my success. It's me, those insecurities, that infidelity to my spirit, my true self, and my behavior that ends up, setting it ablaze. Metaphorically speaking, of course. So we don't want to do that anymore. And it's funny because for me, things have been coming full circle and opportunities are presenting themselves. And I'm being humbled, but at the same time, I'm winning. And it's amazing. And I'm not winning. I think it's just evident of my faith. And that is evidence of things hoped for. Like, my hopes are coming to fruition. And so I'm going to keep on pressing on and trying to practice faith. I would not call myself a faithful person because I think I'm so unfaithful that would outweigh the whole objective of this thing. So let me not even go down that path. But something very integral to my week thus far, I have been spending a lot of time writing and working on this new book. I've knocked out 4 chapters so far, and I'm really stoked because the story has become so dynamic. And just by getting in the habit of writing every day after working out, scarfing down a post-workout meal real quick, not wasting time cooking, not wasting time eating, jumping into it, having my coffee ready, and writing for 3 to 4 to 5 hours every day. It's really coming together, and I'm stoked. I'm not going to beat myself up for not being like this earlier in the game or earlier this year. That's not where I was at. My higher power knew I wasn't there. I think my soul deep down really knew, and it was conflicting with my mind and my being. And it's one thing to talk, it's one thing to do. It's a whole other thing to do. And so I know for me, I believe in speaking it into existence, but at the same time, it's good to see people's faces when they're like, yeah, you were talking about doing a podcast a year ago, or you had so much potential in college. Like, you were singing, you were acting, you were dancing, you were on TV. Like, I could get so caught up in that, or I can forgive myself and be present in this moment and make the most of it. Like, it's absolutely up to me to change the narrative. And I think that is the power of Burning Man. From what I gather from like the Aubrey Marcus podcast, the AMP podcast, and I think there was a Risk episode or The Moth where a gentleman described his experience at Burning Man and how therapeutic this ritual is, this festival that practices rituals. And I think that's incredible. I think that is absolutely incredible. Like I mentioned before, for all my Christian listeners, Bible thumpers out there, there are witches and ghosts in the Bible. So that keeps it real intriguing for me. I'm sorry. I don't know about you, but that keeps it really intriguing for me because I've experienced and unfortunately have dabbled in some dark stuff like that. I'm not proud of it, but I'll be honest. And I don't want my soul to be tortured for all of eternity. And so you take what you need, you leave what you don't. I know it resonates with my soul. And the fact that I'm a bisexual man or, really sexually homosexual, no, emotionally homosexual, sexually bisexual. Because I'm definitely attracted to women, but I'm very emotionally unavailable when it comes to the opposite sex. Transgender, I don't know, because I stumbled upon some stuff, and apparently I don't have a problem with hooking up with a transsexual person. So that is something to check off the bucket list when I get to that point in my life. But for right now, I just got me, myself, and I. That's all I got in the end. So, and that's okay. That's all right. I was born this way, alone. That's how I'm gonna die, homie. Hopefully, I just pray. I literally pray like, God, let me be able to take care of my dog for the rest of our life, his long life. And I pray that I outlive my dog by or maybe I shouldn't pray that. I don't know, because maybe my higher power is like, you are not going to want to be around, once the ozone layer implodes. So just take what I give you now, do the most with it. Here's your lemons, make some lemonade. And that's, that is what it is. Like this morning, I did not feel like going to the gym. I'll tell you what I did not want to do was to go work out. Because I got to this point where I'm not as weak as I was last week, a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, that's going to happen if you're doing it right. And I'm trying to do it right. I'm trying to do it consistently. But I think it's getting to the point where the habit is not routine yet. So the new routine is starting to irritate the old routine. The new ER hunter is starting to irritate the authentic, real, disciplined, self-controlled, regimented ER hunter. But at the same time, I do this podcast because I don't want to take myself too seriously at all. And when you're like, my second cousins, like at my great-grandfather's birthday parties the past like 2 weeks, like one of my second cousins, she was like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like if somebody tells you that in the first 3 minutes of talking, like you're probably beating yourself up to the point where it's making other people sick. Like, stop it. Yeah, I put on some weight, but who doesn't by the time they're 30? If I just stay in it and I sit around, I get lazy and I eat about it and I drink to it, then yeah, that whole part of me, that insecurity, that infidelity to my spirit, that wins. And I just prolong any intercession, prolong any healing, prolong tearing off the Band-Aid and just going through the painful part. So now I'm in the painful part. I know I'm in that fatigue phase where you just started to work out, you just started to run, and you're just in the pre-fatigue. Like your muscles like, what's going on? And spiritually, it's like that. But the new opportunities have been a definitely morale booster. And that's huge. That's huge. I just got us all set up for Patreon. And, I'm not just pushing it like nobody's business. I just wanted to do it in case somebody wants to support or wants to sponsor. And as this grows, as my website grows, as the collections of books grow, the subscription service will unfold. But who knows what that's going to be right now? Because I got so much stuff going on in my head. I got a blog. I got the podcast. I got the book. And there's writing competitions. There's these new opportunities. And I am so, so grateful because this should not be my life, honestly. Like, I guess it should because this is what, the universe is allowing to play out. But if you would have told me a year ago or 2 years ago where I'd be today, I wouldn't have believed you. And I probably just wouldn't even remember the conversation because I would have been inebriated or something. Or just so spiritually different. Even when I was sober, I was a zealot. And maybe I still am. But I want the best for others. I would like the best for my listeners. And so I just want to talk about some rhetorical stuff. Why we say what we say, what it implies, navigating this crazy, crazy world that we live in. And Ben Greenfield, on his recent podcast, he was interviewing Paul Chek. And that guy is a spiritualist. And he talks about so much incredible stuff with so much authentic, genuine compassion and level-headedness, and he's just down to earth. I really enjoyed this interview on the Ben Greenfield podcast with Paul Chek. And he talks about voyance, how people have voyancy, I guess kind of like clairvoyance. So I know clairvoyance is where you can kind of see the future, or you have some type of supernatural gift that gives you premonitions, or maybe like a medium type thing where you can talk to dead people, something like that. But he was talking about even intercession, or intercessors have a voyance for feeling other people's feelings, so picking up on other people's auras or energies, or their emotions while you sit at a stoplight. That was an example that they gave, and I really related to that because of my ghost stories and paranormal experiences and unexplained stuff. That obviously anything that my mind, I know, I get, and I understand that what my mind hasn't been able to categorize data-wise, maybe the sight, the sound, the audible, the vision were off, and I categorize that immediately as paranormal, ghost, or something like that. May not be the case, a glitch in my little matrix may it all be. Or it could be some type of voyance, some type of buoyancy, because when I was in Florida, after I had lived in New York for 3 months, I rented out my room in Los Angeles to a friend of mine, and it was across the hall from his brother. Well, he ended up moving my belongings out of the closet, which makes sense because I was gone for several months, and I had gone to New York, stayed there for several months, and then I ended up going to Florida because I couldn't afford a flight ticket all the way back to California, and a friend took me in there. So it's the type of stuff you do after you graduate college. And I was in college for 7 years. I did not know how to live, and I wanted to try everything, and I did. That's what this episode's all about. And as I've mentioned before, I was running a lot when I was down in Florida. I lost 45 pounds in 3 months. And by the time it was October, I got up one morning and we were going on the morning run, 4 miles. And I just had this heaviness in my chest. I couldn't breathe very well, smoke inhalation. And it's not like me to have breathing problems. I never have had asthma, and I just had never felt something like that. And it just felt like I had a weird, very central cough. And my run was very slow. I was dragging at the gym, and then when we were at the gym, I got a text from my friend that she's in St. Thomas now, and she was like, "Babe, all your stuff burned down in a fire in the garage." And that thing blew up, and maybe even to this day, my stuff is still behind that house in Harvard Heights. It's just an ash of rubble the last time I saw it. So I felt that all the way across the country that morning. That whole morning was like I knew a fire had happened, like something spiritual transaction occurred, and I'll never forget that. So I really related to what Czech was saying regarding voyance and a matter of finding our own and what our strengths are, because he was pitching it like we all have various capabilities and talents and many different types of voyances. So I don't know if mine was like intercession or some type of telepathy where I can mind travel and feel what my childhood teddy bear felt after getting smoldered in a hot ball of flames. In any case, he also pitched the idea that God is represented in the idea of the term zero, which is all or nothing. And I totally relate to that. And my Instagram, when I made my Instagram originally, him talking about it, just God being defined as zero, for some reason, I wrote that negative numbers don't exist. So if anything, I could just be a zero. And for me, I didn't think about it when I wrote it. It just kind of fell out. And it just has been there for years and years. So now I'm starting to pay attention more to where I'm getting my spiritual advice, how I'm living my life, what I'm doing on the daily to build my platform. And, I want to listen to people like Ben Greenfield, people like Paul Chek and Joe Rogan and Aubrey Marcus and Joey Diaz. I want to listen to all those guys. But sometimes you got to hone in on, well, where is my soul need guidance today? Because sometimes I need that relaxation. I need that laugh that Coco Diaz is going to give me. But sometimes I need that knowledge, that logic that I'm going to get from Rogan. And sometimes I need that life experience from Aubrey Marcus, or just that clinical, straight up science, but down to earth sarcasm from Ben Greenfield. Who knows? But I appreciate all those podcasts. And y'all know I get down with Oprah Super Soul Sunday like it's nobody's business. Do not mess with me. And speaking of faith and spirituality, like I referenced in the last episode, her interview with Brene Brown, which is a two-parter, just getting into that vulnerability of believing in something that's not me. It's just there's no way I could orchestrate everything that's happened thus far in my life. Like, it just literally sometimes feels like a setup. Like, sometimes I really wonder if this is just like some simulation or Matrix game, and at the end of it, it's just gonna restart, and it's just like, okay, you got like 3 lives or something like that. Who knows? But hopefully I'll be chilling, feeling like I'm on ecstasy with no fear, no pain, no anxiety, no depression, no PTSD. Yeah, I know that's going to be the case. But that means I want to try and do it right this time. That's my grind. That's why I'm doing what I do. So it's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. Negative numbers don't exist. There's no way I can fail if I'm trying. And either I'm going to get that result or I'm not. And I think I am. I really think I am, because all lights are green right now. And green in these here parts, sir, that means go. If not, you're impeding traffic. You're preventing other people from doing what they got to do by not advancing. How you like them apples? A little Good Will Hunting reference for you. So just the conceptualization of spirituality and this ideation of God being zero, and how these different, basically reality is different vibrations, is what Chuck was bringing up with Ben Greenfield. And so he mentioned like almost like a string theory, like strings are vibrating, that makes noise. That's what this, and to me, I define that as frequency, those wavelengths, that vibration pattern. So this is my string. This life, this experience I'm going through right now, and it's vibrating, and there's a music to that, there's a tone to that, and when I fall out of line with that, I don't feel too good, I don't feel too hot, and either it's my mind that ain't doing too well, it's my body is falling apart because I'm drinking too much or eating too much or not getting enough exercise or stressing too much, having a physical toll on me. or my spirit. I'm not feeding my soul anything. I'm not meditating. I'm so glad, I want to like utilize my time. And I woke up kind of right after the sun rose this morning, got to the dog park early, hit the gym, and they have like this red light therapy machine I usually do in the beginning because they said like that torches fat more because it loosens up the fat cells before you work out. But I had to hit it afterwards today because I was already geared up when I walked in the gym, just tanked up, ready to rock. And yeah, I got in there and I turned off the music and no headphones. The Bluetooth stopped working and stuff. So I meditated, and it's a 12-minute session. But, I was like, if I could get in like 4 or 5 solid minutes of meditation, because it's got the VibraShake thing in there. The floor shakes, and it, like, I know athletes use it. I don't know. It says it decreases the appearance of cellulite. And boy right here, I'm trying to decrease the appearance of cellulite. It's just all right. That's all right. I'm doing whatever it takes. But more importantly, I'm eating right, or I have been for the last 2 weeks. This is a little vlog, little audio journal for you, and working out like a beast. So a beast that's a child of God in the name. In any case, and that got me thinking, frequencies, vibrations, and I know they use these like magnetic field machines when they're ghost hunting, but maybe like that paranormal stuff, the ghost stories, like maybe these wandering spirits that I've witnessed are just in the wrong frequency. They're on the wrong wavelength. They're on the wrong line that's vibrating at that point in time, a little lost. And so maybe that type of interference messes with us when it happens because we're not used to experiencing stuff outside of this 3-dimensional, whatever, 4-dimensional, no, 3-dimensional, because that's the 4th dimension type stuff right there. That's that spiritual guru, woo, boohoo stuff right there. Have you up at night pacing your room with the lights on, trying to figure out what happened? Well, let me tell you, maybe that was divine intervention, because if the all-knowing, omniscient, omnipotent, higher power being God, as it may be, for some people, but is for me, would know that you were going to experience that, or you experienced it, and how to help you process it or get through it. And that's what podcasts like The Confessionals with Tony Merkel have done for me, by being able to share my encounters and stories and letting people take it for what they will. But I got it off my chest, and everybody's memories change over time. So it is what it is. I'm just grateful that there are reputable people out there that are getting spiritual. And I know that this show is growing because we are hungry for more. We're hungry for more than this vanity, this narcissism, this glamorous, because at the end of the day, that's not filling this empty hole inside my soul when I go to sleep at night, or when I'm enduring what feels like a meaningless job. You know what? Work is work. I don't really think it's what you do. I think it's how you do it. And for me, when I was frying fish and slinging French fries, and I may still do that just to make ends meet. I'm not going to let my pride kill me economically, mentally, socially. I'm not going to let my pride get in the way of that. I'm too old for that. And so I hope that you do not suffer how I've suffered because of pride. And I think maybe that is where our pride, our egos get knocked around when we start delving into the spiritual. And the ego don't like that. Ego don't like that too much. And I notice with me working out and being consistent, that's really what's getting ticked off is my ego. Because he's like, why are you back at the gym? We were just here yesterday. Like, you're not feeling too good. Your energy's down. You're all lethargic. Like, let's just do what we normally do and call it a day, because you're about to get real busy again next week. No, that is not the person, the man I want to be. So I'm literally trying to dig deep and keep things consistent, keep them circular, in rotation, day after day. And it's working, but it's a conflict struggle in the mind, because my brain is like, what are you doing? And I'm glad I lost a good amount of weight in the past, because I kind of remember this. So I'm able to tell myself, remember, Your emotions are going to be up and down. You're making a lot of changes right now. And getting vulnerable with producing this show and sharing myself with the world. I'm not letting that weigh on me how much as I used to. I take others' opinions with a grain of salt because, like I've said before, it's not about what you think. It's about what I think of me. And I got that from TD Jakes. I'm not even going to lie. But it's too good not to share. And that's the good thing about positive energy. It's renewable. You can share it with others. And knowledge is power. So how am I going to serve you if I keep all these goodies to myself? In any case, getting vulnerable enough to take psychedelics, I think that requires immense vulnerability. Not a mustard seed of faith, but like that's like free diving or bungee jumping or skydiving to me, in my opinion. My friend Ali, he, on the other hand, he's not like that right now. And more recently, since we've graduated college over the years, he has experimented with things like DMT, LSD, and we did in college. We both did, and I've had great experiences, weird experiences as well. So I wanted to hear his opinion because he was like my first listener for this podcast, and he's one of my ride or dies. And this is actually the second time that we did this interview, because the first time we were just catching up. You know how guys do when you haven't seen a friend in a while, and it was over Skype, but we just really just chopped it up, and it just wouldn't have been fair to you guys. A lot of the references would have been totally out of context, and so we did it again because that's what friends do for friends. And we're going to keep it real with Ali, and we're going to talk and delve into his experiences with psychedelics, because I think that my anxiety, my PTSD, my depression was definitely curbed and affected by my microdosing with LSD in college. And so I believe in the healing effects of psychedelics. I didn't have as lucid experiences as Ali's going to describe. So that's why I wanted to inquire with him and also compare notes with the podcast I listened to with Ben Greenfield, and obviously Aubrey Marcus' AMP podcast. He references psychedelics a lot and their healing powers. So that's what really, his podcast got me out of a rut. And I had never even done ayahuasca, but him sharing his experiences of what the trips were like and what he experienced as far as hallucinations, or maybe they weren't hallucinations, his eyes were just open at a different frequency to a different vibration, a different reality that actually is existing among us all right now, coinciding. So this has been near and dear to my heart, to say the least. So keeping it real with Ali, let's check out and see how this interview went. I didn't know Crenshaw was a bloodline.
What was that? You listen to, you like, who was it? Anderson .Paak? You know Anderson .Paak? I tried to get you to listen to him back in the day.
You did. He's
And
like the skater rapper.
I mean, who was that? Lupe Fiasco, right? Kick, push, kick.
Yeah, for
push,
sure.
Coast. Not quite, but kind of from Venice, originally.
Pack.
Like,
Is that from your area, your neck of the woods?
No, he's from Venice, Venice, California. But he had an album called Malibu.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about, but I actually haven't sat down and listened to it, to be honest.
I think you'd like it. It just has yourself being a musician and whatnot. But
yeah, there's a like inferiority complex with like being a singer-songwriter. You don't really want to listen to too many other ones because you're just gonna start hating on them.
Do say that. I totally understand, and like it's kind of hard for me now to like get into music for like these kids making music like that. I'm like, oh shit, this is good. And it's like I figure out it's like some 18-year-old from like Ohio or something, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all love. It's all music. It's all creativity.
True.
End of the day.
So I'm gonna be doing like a series of like scary episodes, so really delving into like each of those stories I told on Tony's show.
Yeah.
So leading up to Halloween, it'll gain like more and more steam because people are into that, you know, starting probably in September. So that's why I kind of wanted to delve into like hallucinations and trips with you because I've had recent hallucinations, but they were from withdrawing from alcohol. And I didn't even know you could have hallucinations from that, but apparently you can. And I saw like a face come out of my grandmother's door. Like I saw like a silhouette, like a white shadow walking through the room, and then I saw a man's face. Like if I saw this guy on the street today, I'd fucking freak out.
Yeah.
But that was like the most intense, but it's also because there was no dopamine in my like when you drink, like when I drink or whatever like that, there's no dopamine in my fucking
your head like going.
Yeah, so you start getting all schizo pretty much.
Sure.
So anyway, I know you've had more experience psychedelics because I think we've dabbled, but it was very minimal. I think if I ever did with you.
Yeah, I think I visited you at one point while I was tripping on mushrooms.
And, yeah.
And I remember going down to the spot, and I was like, Eric, I just took mushrooms there. Oh shit, really? And I was like, yeah. And dude, they're kicking in.
Yeah.
Your face is looking crazy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember looking at you, and you're like, all the pores start to swirl. Everything was like. I was like, yeah, they're definitely working. I forgot who I was with. Do you remember? I was with someone else. I think it may have been like.
I kind of remember that.
Ernie brother of mine or something. Maybe a bit like younger underclassman. But.
Or that girl with the dark hair that looked like a Kardashian.
Anyways, we sat in front of a tree. You remember that little walkway that we go down to the bus stop down there?
Yeah, the beach.
Yeah, the beach.
Yeah.
There's like that little like really kind of pristine garden area where it's just like mossy grass and like beautiful tree trunks and just looking over the Pacific.
Yeah.
We sat there for like quite some time, and I was just like vibing, just enjoying the breeze and taking in nature. And I remember looking at this tree trunk, and the bark was like warping into like these ancient looking, like native, almost like Native American characteristics, like very just like regal, kind of like Pocahontas. I don't know. And
yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I know that is like Chumash territory there with the
right
within the native
And I mean, that tree probably saw some years because that wasn't a new tree. That tree had been there, so that it probably saw all the construction of that neighborhood.
A lot of years for sure. There. Oh, and the craziest part of that, I was like tripping, and I get talkative when I'm on psychedelics. I found like
Who doesn't?
you're right. You're just like, whoa, I'm Chatty Cathy, and what happened? We were talking to this just guy. This guy's normal civilian looking dude, and talking to him for probably like 20 minutes just about how beautiful the area is. And after we're just shooting the shit, and I'm an instigator in conversation a lot of the times, just naturally. So this is probably my
I'd agree.
probably one of the worst qualities too, because I'll get trapped in conversations and I'll keep them going and whatnot. But we talked to this dude for a long time, and he's like, "Yeah, I just retired 30 years from the like state troopers," and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm tripping balls right now."
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
talking to this like ex cop, and after that I'm like, "Oh, I'm still cool," and I'm like, "This guy had to have known." 'Cause my pupils must have been like whoop, saucers.
Yeah.
So that was one. I think that was the first time I remember tripping around you personally.
Yeah, okay. I just those times that season. That actually sounds like a really good trip because when I did shrooms, it was towards the end of my freshman year, like in the summer after that.
And depends on
And
how much you do, I should say, because it can get very intense.
yeah, I mean, the only real hallucination I had, I was standing in like a puddle. We were at the beach of sand with water in it, so it was murky. And I
Mhm.
looked down at my feet and it looked like a bunch of like pythons, like that color pattern, like swirling around my feet. So I jumped out of the puddle and then I went and stood closer to the shore, like where the waves were crashing.
Mhm.
And the sky was filled, it was overcast, but then it was like lightning bolts, like hundreds of lightning bolts striking the ocean, all different colors, like colors I'd never seen before. And I
It
was
was like
like,
kaleidoscope,
whoa,
almost like of colors.
what's that?
Was it like intense, like a lot of colors all at once?
Yeah, like lightning striking the ocean all at once, all different colors, like the neon, but then colors I just can't. I know I'm not even remember them correctly because I just remember I don't have a name for
Mhm.
that. It was
Yeah.
intense, but I didn't let myself go into that. And that was really it. And then the relief from like depression, anxiety, and all that, that was excellent. So,
You actually got like physical relief.
yeah, I mean, for
Isn't that
months to
interesting?
come.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Psychedelics. I feel like they're healing it. Like puts different parts of your brain, like little connections that have been not connected for some time, just kind of puts them
Yeah.
back together. It's like glues them back. It's crazy.
I mean, it helps
I've
me
totally felt.
forget. Sorry, go for it.
Oh, I think we're on the same page. Like it completely changes your kind of attitude for some time too. And like I felt very happy after tripping, and then you start to become a little jaded again, and things kind of reality hits in, and then you
Yeah.
trip again, and kind of resets everything.
Yeah. Are
Get
you
back,
like,
you know.
do you consider yourself like a microdoser or?
I have. I definitely have. I don't. I think it's fun, and it's almost like beneficial for my normal thinking process.
Yeah.
Like almost like Ritalin. I think that benefited off that, but
Kind of
at the
straightens
same
out your
time,
thoughts.
yeah, at the same time, I kind of, if I'm tripping, I kind of want to experience something great. I want to see shit. I want
Yeah.
to take something out of the experience. And I think there's always something to take, even if it leaves you super confused at the end. Super confused at the end. And
Yeah.
I've had those trips as well, where it's just like, the fuck.
So you're going in seeking something. You don't
Kind
know
of, yeah.
exactly what, but you
Well,
know you want.
sometimes it's just skiing, but I think they always have. Um, it's kind of hard to say. Say it gets to kind of the surreal aspect of everything, but I just think it kind of it kind of lifts the veil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was just listening to another show, like my first scary podcast I'd listened to in a long time, because it's like I want to be in the right frame of mind. But the guy was talking about how the Irish believe, or Celtic, in what they call like the thin place, and they think that there's just certain places, like let's say a haunted house, where the veil is a little bit thinner between like spirits and humans. And one guy, he was a paramedic, and he was like super sensitive to all that. But I know you tend to like you've had some gnarly trips where I know you mentioned like a gnome, and then when we talked yesterday or like 2 days ago, audible, like hearing stuff. And like I've experienced audible hallucinations, like withdrawing from alcohol, but
Yeah.
and that fucks me up. That fucked me up because I'm like, did the door just? You heard the
Yeah.
doorbell, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
or you hear that phone ringing? I haven't
Yeah.
heard a phone ring since 1998.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Where
It's
that
a
come from?
trip. So I'm kind of worried. I guess that's why I'm so curious of hallucinating again, because I've had, but it was nasty hallucination. You know, it was like detox. So you mentioned like a gnome or something at some point, like a entity.
Yeah, man. So that was my first time trying DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and there's various forms and ways that you can actually try it, which very popularizes the ayahuasca, which is the Amazonian root, and mixes with all the plants, and the certain plant has a chemical in it that will activate something like this, and boom, they brew it in some tea and kind of purge you, like puke and shit, and it's a very intense experience, and that sounds like a lot for me to handle. Like it sounds like I'd like to do it one day, but
Yeah.
then you can just smoke it. So it's like that sounds a little more enticing and less stressful, and I don't have to go to Amazon to get this. And it's all like natural, right? I mean, I think it's pretty well known amongst people who are like a little bit knowledgeable about psychedelics. But we vaped it in like a dab form, more or less. So we put it in like oil rig for like people who are knowledgeable about BHOs, oils, things like that within the cannabis community.
Right.
You can actually vape the DMT. It's a crystal, and so we torched it, and you take it in, and you hold it in, and you breathe out. And I remember breathing out this, and it's very intense. It's just like, and it was a kaleidoscope of every single color and all at once, and even like you said, like colors you've never seen or experienced, or you don't have a name for it. And it gets kind of confusing, because they're like, whoa, what is all this? And then I kind of felt this like pop, and I remember it almost literally felt like it was shot out of my body. And I was like, whoa, like whooshing through this like canyon of just like reality. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I remember kind of opening my eyes, and everything's kind of like, the word that comes to mind is wacky. Everything in life is just wacky. Like everything's like going out of whack, and it's confusing at first. It takes you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, you really done it now. You really fucked up.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh shit, okay, it's just drugs. This will probably wear off. And once I started worrying less, I remember seeing this like kind of like entity just pop right in front of me. It was like kind of startling. I wasn't scared per se, but it was like definitely there. And it was like this kind of, I've heard people kind of report it before, but it was like this jester like looking guy with this like very, it's almost just like menacing, but like he's like, yeah, that's right, I'm here. And I'm like witnessing him. He's just kind of like juggling around, and I'm like, okay, what the hell? And then I'm kind of coming in and out of it, and I'm opening my eyes, I'm looking around, and I just start to see the world almost like start to digitize and fade out of reality, and it almost felt like you broke out of the simulation.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like my first real experience with it, and I've had a few experiences after where with different levels of intensity. That was probably one of the most intense.
You think that was the most intense because it was your first time?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I've definitely had some other intense moments.
Yeah.
Another I've had, which is one of them. It's like I always feel weird talking about it because it's just like so like, huh. But I was just one night, just like home alone, just chilling, and I was like, yeah, might as well just trip. Why not?
Yeah.
And so why not?
Okay. Well,
So
all right.
I was like, maybe I can get some cool out of this, and then I did, and it was like kind of cool. It's just like it was more of a dark view, and I feel like there's kind of layers and levels of intensity. Like first, it's kind of just colors and the patterns, and it's really cool and beautiful. So I'm just sitting there listening to some like trippy like music, like festival EDM, like tribal hippie shit,
Right.
And I'm taking a hit, and it's beautiful patterns start to kind of just form out of me, and I almost feel like the patterns themselves are like entities, like they're a form of energy that have their own way of interacting.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to music, and it's like dancing along with the music. It's like, whoa, this is really fucking cool, huh? And then there was like a point where the song, it was like just about to get really intense.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, but the patterns are just like shifting, and then it dramatically like, and then right when I did that, the music I was listening to dramatically changed, like almost it predicted it before it was happening.
Wow.
Almost like it was orchestrating it all.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you don't have really any control, really. And then I was like, okay, that's cool, weird. And then I took the headphones out, I think, is what I did. And my entire vision, everything, those patterns, they went away. And
Wow.
and then I almost heard this, like this piano note, like a deep, like B7 flat, I don't know, like something really menacing. And then I see this like red, well, it was almost like neon, but it was like a pentagram, just forms. And I'm like, yeah, what? And then out of like this just darkness, I see the typical image, exactly what you see of a Baphomet, which left me like, but the weird thing is I didn't feel scared.
Yeah.
Like that sounds fucking frightening, but I felt no fear. I was like, huh. This is weird. I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. So I just started like opened my eyes. And I was like, just sitting there. It's like, and when you open your eyes when you're still tripping, almost like things are kind of like wacky. Like I said, you get in a wacky town. And I was just left awestruck. I was like, what do I take out of that?
Right.
But other times I felt like I've done it, and I've hung out with angels. I've seen like these beautiful like light sources of just like energy kind of taking you around, like almost like you're the one that mysteriously like appears in their reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like you're just like you're the interruption in their reality, and they're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Oh wow, hey, and they're kind of, I say they, I don't know what they is though. It's like entities, just like get these energies, and they'll kind of go blah 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 blah, and they'll just show these weird shapes and try to give it to you and like do bloop, bloop, bloop. Do you understand? Like it's like you feel like you know what they're saying, but it's not English.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Um,
interesting. I mean,
it's
that
bizarre.
sounds it sounds similar to when I watch a lot of this show like called I Survive, and they have
Mm,
an edition I Survive Beyond and Back. So people talk about near death experiences, and a lot of them mention going to a place, entities taking them around
yeah.
in their world, and then like returning. So that's it sounds awfully similar, and I don't think like it's a coincidence, you know. I think
It's
it's like the same place or plane. Do you think like psychedelics or DMT in particular, like kind of when you say opens the veil, um, I was thinking about frequencies. Like a lot of things
it
like ghost
heightens it. It
hunters use
heightens it for
frequencies.
sure. It heightens
Do
the
you think it
frequency.
opens your eyes to see frequencies in color maybe or something like that?
So I'm glad you said that word because I forgot to add one of the more overwhelming um, initial feelings of when you try this is I heard this frequency. I heard this very high pitched ringing in my ear almost. It was like
Yeah.
coming from my inside of me, and it was like this. And just started getting very high and overwhelming, and then that's kind of when you felt like you just kind of get unplugged from the matrix. You're just like you're out. Like
Yeah.
whether you want, if you fight it, you're out. You're in another world.
Wow.
So I think it heightens your frequency almost to a level um, where it forces you to get to um, that plane of existence. I guess I don't know. I think there
Yeah.
are planes. There's different. I think that when we hate and when we are negative, that's definitely on the lower spectrum of it. It's a very
Yeah.
primitive um, thing that we tap into that we all have. But when you think of love and it's a much higher, much stronger frequency, and I
Sure.
think that definitely translates through all aspects of life. And I think everything emits some type of frequency: plants, flowers, animals.
Dude, I mean, one of my favorite lines, and I'm not that like underdog or like noir film guy, but in Interstellar, Anne Hathaway is like, love is the one thing that can evade space and time, you
Mm,
know? And it's that's like a frequency, and then it's like you're hearing audible noise.
yeah,
Those are wavelengths, those are vibrations.
yeah.
So something is existing there. And I'm wondering, like, do you think it may also contribute to a type of like astral projection? Do you think maybe that's why the physical kind of passes out and then the soul kind of,
It's
even
physical
if
though. What does that mean? Like,
astral projection?
yeah, no. I said, what is physical? Like, how do we define like
This,
something really touch feel? Like, I don't know, man. When I'm in this other world, it feels just as real. The weird
sure.
thing is, it feels realer than real. It feels
Yeah.
way more real than what I'm able to see. Like HD TV, clear and clear, bling, like it completely lifts your reality. It changes your entire how you see everything else when you come back.
But are you still interacting like with your body, or are you like an essence of yourself?
Astral, it's totally astral. It's like the essence. I'd
Okay.
say.
Is it like no shame, no fear, like total bliss, or is it just like your being?
Yes,
Huh.
it's a little bit of both. It's your true you,
Yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, for me, I know
your
we've
awareness,
talked
your
about
complete
this.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, like what your conscience is, like it's your essence, in my opinion, because I think I must have had like a DMT trip when I was going through puberty in 2001, because I had this gnarly dream where I'm
I've had
sitting
it
in
in
the
my
back of
dreams
my,
since.
what's that?
I've had it in my dreams since. Totally. I think we can tap into it in
Yeah.
in the dream world for sure.
Well, I ended up like getting like raptured up to heaven in the dream. And I wasn't even like in deep sleep. It wasn't the middle of the night. It was like 7 a.m.
I've heard you talk about this on
Yeah.
another show.
But
Yeah.
I felt my body and I heard chains falling off as I'm like blasting through the clouds. I can feel the clouds against me, but like pieces of me falling off of this matrix and then arriving at this really bright place and a being. It was like I know there were a couple beings that were like probably 10
Yeah,
feet
you were in the
away,
waiting room.
but one just comes up to me and it kind of looked like they shook their head and they're just like, no, you're not supposed to be here right now. And then I like woke up and dropped back on my bed. But like how you were saying everything was so wacky, that was so unexpected for me. It scared the shit out of me. Like I was shook for like a week. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
fall asleep. I didn't want to dream again because I was scared my dreams would be like that. And it was like I went to heaven and I got put right back. And I was like, heaven was great. Like no fear, no problem, nothing like that. It was the return and just having all that bliss taken away so rapidly that I was like, God, please don't ever do that again to me. And I'm hesitant
It's
to meditate now too because of that, but I think I'm ready.
well, I think the thing is when you it takes a brave soul to venture on into that world. It is scary, and you actually feel like you are dying. You feel like you pass out. You feel like you're like one day. I was like, oh well, fuck you. You really did it now.
Oh
You
shit.
train, you did drugs. It's exactly what they told you. And, you're fine after. But it
It
shakes you.
does sound like you have to be courageous.
You have to have a warrior soul, a warrior mindset to really venture off into that area. And
Do you think there's something in you that's a little bit bored with this plane of existence? So maybe that's why you have the courage to do that?
yeah, maybe it's just like a indigo soul thing, like knowing there's more out there. I totally believe there's more out there.
But it's almost like you don't have like I kind of have a little bit more patience to wait and see if, you know, I'm just not I guess because you can never unknow once you know. And then what if I rather than
Ignorance is
ascend, I
bliss, man. I'll say
decent.
that.
Because I've heard of people like seeing these Renaissance art paintings of like Dante's layers of hell, and then people that have done ayahuasca, they talk about going there, and they're like, yeah, it looks just like that. So then there's theories that even like the Bible, the burning bush, things like that. The guy that wrote the Book of Revelations was tripping on fumes, like so. All these like divinely inspired texts could be divinely induced by dimethyltryptamine in my
I
opinion.
totally believe that. I totally think there's some hidden knowledge. And dude, all our history is we know probably, if we're really being honest, like a few thousand years of real history, like
Yeah.
in the spectrum of how many billion years old our Earth is.
Right.
It's like 5 fucking seconds.
It is.
So I truly think that there's some hidden knowledge out there. I think there's some things that the masses aren't privy to. They had that Library of Alexandria. There's things we don't talk about. The Emerald Tablets, for example, the Dead Sea Scrolls, like all these proofs.
Yeah, the
coming in
Dead Sea Scrolls that aren't in the Bible and like the ones that
Right.
talk about Jesus when he was a teenager and how he used to bring his friends back to life after letting
Yeah.
them jump off a building or something. The cool stuff.
I just think there's a lot of suppressed knowledge, and
For sure.
it's a shame. It really is, because we're not. I don't think humans are doing what we're really designed and meant for. I think we're all divine inherently. I think we all have that in us. We are all part of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
it's
that's why this show is important to me.
sad to see shit like the Amazon and the world's lungs are on fire right now.
I know, right, dude? Like, not cool. And I mean, I'm not trying to be one of those like ultra religious, like biblical people. Like, end time stuff, but you got the Amazon on fire, you got the president saying he's the chosen one, and it's just
I
weird.
think that
It's just
one was
weird.
maybe a little bit misquoted.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy who likes to say everything quite literally, and he was the chosen one. We were the people that chose him into the office.
The
We
electoral
chose
college,
him.
but let's not get into politics.
Please, no.
But I'm just saying, I mean, I guess, and it's just everything's way more broadcast these days. So it's like it's overload. Like I have had to take a break from Reddit because I saw a video that just fucked me up. Like, and I was like, this should not be allowed. Like,
Yeah,
it's
Reddit's been compromised too. It's owned by a Chinese entity. I think pretty much the Chinese government owns Reddit now. There's been a lot of plagues going on, and a lot of the subreddits are being heavily monitored and edited, uh,
wow.
and it's Orwellian times, man. We're
I know. Are we seeing dystopia happening? Like, I
well,
mean, are we not gonna?
we have been, Eric. It's been, and everything's been in our face all along, and
Yeah.
they're not even. This is just what it seems to be. It seems that they know they can get away with everything, and still, you know,
Yeah, I'm just I wonder if psychedelics, if there's any means of like time travel, because if it's like you can go to another dimension and like you were saying, this earth, maybe just being a part of this magnetic field, there's
mm,
like an overlap of its history or something, or
mm.
I don't know, but that would be interesting to hear from somebody that maybe went to another time or something from it. Can you
Yeah,
do that?
I haven't really heard much about time travel, but it certainly could be true. I don't know. I think there's definitely different. I kind of had a thought, like, what if every time you trip, you're just actually kind of slipping out of our dimension, and then you kind of slip back into another one.
Yeah,
Like, it
and
might not be
it's
the same, it might be very similar, but it kind of goes into like quantum physics and whatnot. I just don't know. I think that's the biggest thing that I've gotten out of these trips is like, nothing, and there's so much
yeah.
knowledge.
I just,
I do think that there's a bigger energy out there that's kind of making this all happen, sure, but it's confusing. It's just like it's mind-boggling.
well, for sure, it's like there's this interconnectedness that I think what makes us human, and then like with the beings you were experiencing, like if I'm gonna think of those as angels, then they are created and they are like of the supreme power, but then it's like our story is that we were created in its image, and
Well, shit. And you heard of I mean, even the Bible says there was a race of giants.
yeah, the Nephilim,
Yeah, well, the Nephilim, right? There was angels mixed with humans, and
right?
the Nephilim mixed with giants, and
That really
these
enthuses me.
yeah, and it kind of goes back into Enochian periods of time. I don't know if you listened to the Confessionals episode with the gentleman who was doing some military excavation
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I
Yeah,
listened to that whole
and
thing.
he came up to the Enochian text. What?
Yeah,
What? I mean, that's what's like in the sacred tablets and whatnot that they don't teach in history
right,
class.
right.
Um, and there's like there's apparently rumors of like giant tribes in like the Afghani mountains.
Yeah,
So
and
much in the
that's
world.
and
Red-headed
like
giants.
redheaded giants. The
Six
redheads are
toes, 6 fingers. It's yeah.
that's a trip, man. I mean, and it's like we'll never, because our media is just so like force fed. Like any exposure is just going to be like shut off immediately, which
Yeah, it's
sucks.
bad. It's bad.
I haven't seen a giant, but I did see that footprint on my way up to Jeff's house, and
Yeah, that like reptilian sounding one, right?
yeah, and but Tony Merkel was saying that he had a couple on his show, and they had pretty much the same thing like 3 long toes and 1 long foot behind it, and it kind of looked like a bird's,
Like a talon?
talons. Yeah, but like the size of Shaq's foot. It was like blood that wouldn't wash away. I mean, because I would walk up that hill, run
Yeah.
up it, and it was always there. And it looked like it like ate a possum or some lizard because there was a tail right next to it. And that was another reason I never really stuck around, because it was like a piece of roadkill. But it was weird. It was just like a severed tail and then the footprint. And I'm just like, this does not make any sense.
I wish you had that picture, because you said you took a picture, but you deleted it, right?
And it was probably on a phone before I got this one. I think it was on the phone right before I got this new phone. It would have been, yeah. So maybe it's on iCloud somewhere. I could do some digging. But yeah, I talked to my grandmother a lot about like angels intermixing and like the giants, and she's interesting because she's like, Christian through and through, Southern woman. Well, she seems Southern. She's a Cali girl, but reads books, like will straight up read a book about like a guy's experience going to heaven, or somebody's experience, or like angels, or what like the Vatican doesn't want you to know. Like she reads that stuff, so I really appreciate her. And I mean, just the fact that like angels are sometimes described as like having like the heads of lions and the bodies of like a human or something like that. So like when you mentioned what you saw, Baphomet or whatever, yeah, like the head of like a ram and
It was
the
like,
body. So it's like a fallen angel almost, which kind of checks out. But then
yeah,
it's
man,
like,
I definitely saw the head and the horns, and then it was like almost like darkness. Everything else was just like a robe almost, it felt like.
yeah.
And then maybe there was like hooded, robed figures like in surrounding too. It was very weird.
Interesting.
Very
I had a little deja vu. Like I had a dream about like a bunch of like black shadows standing around, and a woman like screaming in the middle of them, kind of being like lifted up. Well, it was freshman year in high school, and I'm walking from like the cafeteria doorways where people wait for the buses, and like that was when like black guys were wearing long black tees, so a bunch of
Yeah.
them were posted up on the wall.
Right.
And I turn around because I hear my friend's cousin screaming, and she's like, stop, put me down. And this guy, Malak, he was picking her up and like lifting her up, and like they were joking, but it was exactly what I had seen in my dream.
Oh,
It was weird. Yeah.
Um,
What I thought was a scary dream was like just, I don't know, some deja vu. But
that's just some clairvoyance that you've been gifted.
yeah, it is a gift, man. I want to embrace it, but I want to be like spiritually able. I feel like my higher power has really just been like cradling me, and like it's just time for me to grow up. So that's why I want to do stuff like this, because I feel like podcasts too are like the least censored, venue for media these days. So got to utilize that too.
Yeah, totally. Unless the thought police come to play.
I'm guilty. I just hope they don't start throwing gays off of cliffs.
Yeah.
Freaking Handmaid's Tale or something.
Damn, bro.
But yeah, dude. Thank you for chatting about your experiences. I'll probably add a little something or to the front or back of it, but I appreciate it. You're gonna be the first interview on the show.
Nice, and I'm happy to do more in the future. I'm sure I have. I know I definitely have some more to kind of unpack.
Yeah,
it's a complex topic that requires a lot of kind of breaking down and kind of defining what you first off believe and kind of going from there. But
well, if there's any kind of like message or lesson learned you remember, want to bring back up, always feel free, because it doesn't take anything. Even if it's like 2 minutes, I could just drop it in the episode.
Yeah,
then you could be like a consistent character.
hey, that'd be sweet. Yeah, and I love the medium you're working with here. I think it's a really powerful tool, as you said. I would say that probably the biggest thing I've got now is just love. I think that's one of the biggest messages. That's just the truth. And I know it kind of sounds super hippy dippy, but
Nah, man.
I mean, we all know it. It's the highest power of frequency out there. It's like,
I think that's why our friendship has like sustained so long,
mhm.
because I don't keep up with really a lot of people like this, face to
Yeah, yeah,
face. So,
totally. Yeah, I think real recognizes real, and it's an energy that finds each other. Call it synchronicity or the law of attraction, but it will always um, be in your best interest, I believe.
yeah.
I'm a firm
Well,
believer after also doing all this that like everything happens for a reason,
oh,
and
for sure.
remember that because we can get frustrated in the daily shit, but at the end of the day, it's all about love. And first off, loving yourself. We are divine and beautiful creatures,
Dude.
and we're told that we're not. We're told that we're not
Yeah.
consistent. But remember, we're very powerful. Our words, our thoughts, they go a long way, and it can completely change and warp your own reality if you're able to tap into that and really pay attention to your mind and yourself. And I think it's a big secret that people don't really listen to.
For sure. Do you think you were on like a spiritual quest, like initially when you started dabbling, with the psychedelics? Or is it more
Yeah, I
like you're
think it's
kind
more a mix.
of developing?
I think at first I just said, yeah, I want to see patterns. That sounds cool. But then I didn't really realize that, oh shit, this kind of breaks down reality. That
Hmm.
you kind of go much deeper. I don't know if it's the innerverse. I don't know if it's like you're going into yourself or if you're literally going outside of this realm.
Yeah.
But it's a trip.
Yeah, well, it sounds important to you, and I mean, it's important to me. So, you actually have experience with it. That's why I'm a bit of a, I don't like saying pussy, but wimp. I think that's degrading towards women. Because ain't nothing wrong with some good
Yeah,
pussy.
pansy. Have that. Pansy.
Pansy. Oh man, candy ass pansy. That's what my aunt would say. Oh jeez. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna stop recording this and then we can regroup another time. But thank you so much.
Love and respect always. It's a complex topic that requires a lot of kind of breaking down and kind of defining what you first off believe and kind of going from there. But
First-hand account of what it might be like to utilize DMT, LSD, psychedelics. Man, I don't know if I have more questions or if I'm a little bit more excited about where this is going. In any case, thank you for tuning in. Check me out at erhunter.live. That's erhunter.live. Get the book God Sent Dog. It's written by your boy, E.R. Hunter, aka Earth. We're on Patreon. Get at me. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Keeping it real.
Would just like to say that if any one of you is thinking about using illegal substances, you know I'm stuttering because I'm fucked up. If any of you all think about using illicit drugs, you need to consult with your doctor and make sure you are in a safe environment with people who love and care about you. Because I have a little beef right now with the bouncer at the door who sold me this bump-ass E. This is fucked up. I was trying to see God tonight. Now what I'm gonna do? Now what am I going to do? So much for my little trip, my little relief from depression. This is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. Dede, get the car, girl.
In all seriousness, if you or someone you know is experiencing delusions, hallucinations, seizures, delirium tremens, cannot keep conscious, or feel extremely sick, then seek medical attention. I am not a doctor and I do not endorse using street drugs by any means. You could end up getting bath salts and eating someone's face off or doing something you really regret. So be safe out there, be smart. Honestly, I don't even know where to get half the shit I talked about on this episode, but what I do want to say is that if it's not for you, then don't try to force it. In any case, y'all be easy. Thank you so much. Subscribe, rate, and review the show. Love you. Bye.